So welcome to Aroma Freedom Clinic's Friday podcast. And we have a special guest today, Dean Gifford. If you don't know him, he is my husband. And since we are talking about going through challenging times and the times that we're in, I thought it would be a good idea to bring Dean on because being married to me is a challenging time. I'm just kidding. Seriously, I'm just kidding. Last week, we had wonderful Preston on. He did a great job, and we talked about trauma and the different degrees of trauma, because so many people think of trauma as just being the big things, when actually trauma is more than that. It is also the small things. So anytime you don't get your emotional needs met, it's traumatic. And unless you can get your emotional needs met, what happens is an implicit memory is embedded in your unconscious. Why this is so important is because we discovered that it's our unconscious that is actually creating our perception of reality, our value, our worth, and most important, our health. So what we wanted to talk about today are the challenging times that we are in, which are actually very traumatic. If you go back to when COVID first started, everybody was in fear. We all felt it. But then what happened? I mean, what happened? Over time, we adapted. But that doesn't mean that it's not still going on in our unconscious and infecting every part of our day, our health, our value, our worth, and so many other things. So I wanted to bring Dean on today to talk a little bit about the times that we're in, what is going on. I know we're all stuck in our homes, but 88% of the people in America are depressed right now. And the really, really sad part is that there's a 56% increase in suicide in our children in grade school. So this is really happening. Our unconscious was already full, and then you add the pandemic in there, and it's like we're in a war at all times. And then you add what we just went through in Texas and what people are already still going through, where you wake up and it's 2 degrees out and you have no heat. So all of this is reaching us to a boiling point. And we want you to know at Aroma Freedom Clinic, we have techniques that can help you. It can help you release that boiling point and give you more space. And today, if you know of anybody that is in need of help and doesn't have the means, please contact me and we will send out what they need and offer them a free session. There are so many people suffering alone. If you know of somebody that could use our help, please contact me, all right? So Dean, is there anything you would like to share with everything that is going on?
With the current state here in Texas, current events and challenging times, it's just that, folks need to be aware that when in relation to implicit memories, I guess any extreme situation, any even possibly life-threatening conditions, potentially can bring up or spark implicit memories. Obviously the person doesn't know that they're even there until they're in this situation that brings them forth. So just be aware yourself, or be aware of those around you that the current state, current events can trigger, implicit memories, and obviously it's not as much the memories as it's the result and the actions from the trigger of those memories. So.
Well, thank you. Most people probably don't know what we're talking about when we're talking about implicit memory. And implicit memory is when it gets triggered, you're really not even aware of it. One of the signs of implicit memory being triggered is the person starts talking very, very fast. They don't even know what they're saying. because like I said, something unconscious has been triggered. And so they're speaking from their unconscious. They're speaking from an unconscious place. They're not even aware of what's coming out of their mouth. Now, implicit memory is triggered also, and people do very violent things. We're just talking about the verbal part, but people do some pretty awful things when they're triggered and they're unconscious. And what's so horrible about that is just what I said. They're not even aware of what they're doing until they come out of it. And then they're like, oh my gosh. So implicit memory and everything that we've learned, and even Fortune 500 companies are talking about implicit memory now, because I'm talking about your mental health, anxiety, depression, all of these things that are being affected because of our implicit memory and because of where we're at now. But also, it can also affect you in your job, trying to make your quota, reaching your goals in life. You know, I have been a health and fitness expert for over 30 years, and I used to rack my brain around why couldn't people make the lifestyle changes when we gave them everything they needed and they felt so good. Their health was amazing. All their diseases went away. They got the promotion. People that couldn't get pregnant got pregnant. I mean, we just saw amazing things happen. But no matter what we did, they always went back to that other lifestyle. Racked my brain for years around this, trying to figure out what could we do. And now we know it's implicit memory. That's what's stopping you from making these lifestyle changes you want to make. That's what's stopping you from wanting to get up every day and go to the gym. But because you don't know that, this is the part that I can't stand, is you judge what you don't understand. So you don't understand that all this is going on that's blocking you. So what you do in return is judge and beat yourself up. Like, why are you so, I mean, it's terrible, the things you say in your own head. And it's implicit memory that's standing in your way. Let's talk about how implicit memory works. So an example of implicit memory would be as if, you know, you've fallen in love and you've been hurt several times. So that's pain. So implicit memory, it locks into our fight, flight, or freeze. So it's embedded in us for survival. That's why we have those alarms that go off, right? So what has happened though, for whatever reason, it's now working against us. So if something hurts you, then, and you don't get to talk it through, and when you go to sleep at night, it's traumatic, so the brain can't process it. And so implicit memory is stored. It's unconscious, you don't even know. But what happens now, so you've been in love, you got hurt, you were in love, you got hurt, you were in love, you got hurt. So now when you go to fall in love, guess what? It's going to block you. Why? Because it's there to protect you. And love hurts. So it's going to stop you, or it's going to sabotage every single relationship you're in, trying to protect you. So it's, how'd I do in explaining it? Because, you know,
No, I think it's great.
You know, you're explaining something that's the unseen.
I think
So
it's probably the roots to the classic, he won't commit. He won't commit because most likely it's you know, he's had an incident that has a belief attached to it. So
you know, speaking of that, we went through something similar when
we
we
did.
Well, yes, we did.
Do share.
You don't remember?
I will. I'm sure I will.
Well, when we met, you had already been married and had a child. You were afraid of getting married again, that the same thing would happen.
Yeah.
And so we actually went to a counselor. Remember?
I do now. Yes,
And she was able to talk you through it.
Yeah.
And help you work through those implicit memories.
Yeah.
And we've been married 25 years, so we've worked through a lot of implicit memories, and we still do. We're getting pretty good at, though, I think, that when one of us is triggered, we're getting better at realizing that we're triggered.
I mean, I'm sure you'll remember that even along those lines of afraid to get married again. I was afraid to have another child too. So
That's true. And why is that?
for some odd reason, I didn't know if I could love that child as much as I have loved the first one. And I think it's just because the beliefs attached to that first marriage.
I remember us having this conversation, concerned that if you had another child, you wouldn't be able to love.
Well, yeah, now it sounds silly. I mean, today it sounds silly because we did have a child, and they're both wonderful, and I love them both dearly. So it's hard for me to look back and think about, that time and how I had that, that thought. But now that I know about the belief system, how I can be attached to it, then I can see how it's possible. So I can see that's how it's possible for anybody because I understand it now. So.
Well, I think it's really good what we talked about, especially when it comes to love and the reason why people sabotage relationships. And like I said, the reasons why you can't get up and go to the gym each day, the reasons why this, the reasons why that. So now that we've shared what implicit memory is, what is really important is what is going on in our unconscious right now. Because like I said, it's like we're in a war. So how many people are sleeping more or not able to sleep, are grumpier, are drinking more, are edgy all the time? The things you used to do aren't working anymore, meaning when you go to the gym, it's not giving you the relief it was giving you before. There's people saying that their anxiety medication isn't working anymore. So did you have to go there? This man can work out one day a year, and should I make you take your shirt off? One day a year and look amazing. Ladies, okay. Anyway, you broke my concentration. I was talking about something really good. What I was talking about is the fact that people are suffering greatly. I know what it's like to suffer with depression. I know what it's like to wake up one day and you're suicidal. And I know what it's like to feel like a wimp and that you're weak. And I know what it's like to not have enough energy to even answer a text message. I know what it's like to lay in bed all night and have insomnia and only horrid thoughts running through your head. I know what all of that is like, and I know a lot of you are going through that right now. So what I want you to know is pay attention to how you feel. There is nothing more important than how you feel, and it's never been greater than right now. Because there are warning signs that your body will give you before you reach deep, dark suicide depression, which is a chemical imbalance in your brain. I want you to know it's not who you are. It's simply an imbalance in the chemicals in your brain, which 90% of that is coming from your unconscious. So how can you blame yourself? How can you blame yourself of something you're not conscious of? We only have 10% consciousness control. I know we think that we have a lot, but the truth is, you don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. You think you do, but anything could happen.
Okay. Take your word for it.
Anything could happen.
Because I thought I was, tipping 12, 15%, but you say it's only 10.
It's 10. Or maybe, well, at times, ladies, it's 2. Just kidding.
That's by choice. Like selective hearing.
Do you see the wrinkles? Do you see? Yes. That's from 25 years of marriage. You see them? Mm-hmm. Anyway, please be aware of the warning signs. The warning signs are you aren't enjoying what you normally do. Now, how do we know that when we're all stuck in our homes right now, right? But it's just there's no joy. You don't feel any of the good emotions. You don't feel joy, you don't really feel love, you don't really feel peace, you don't really feel anything. Life just starts to get kind of numb. That's
You know what it's like? It's like the Eeyore syndrome, like Eeyore. It's like the Eeyore syndrome. Oh, I bother.
why would you bring up Eeyore?
That's just what it reminds me of.
The first 10 years of our marriage, I
it's
used to
just
call
that
you Eeyore.
It's just ho
You were like that when you didn't get your way. I am not kidding. Now, this man used to make a list for Christmas, and if he didn't get everything on that list, he was upset. And I owe that to his wonderful mother who started that. Yes, he had a list.
I feel the implicit memory coming in. Stop. They're just coming in at me right now. Help me. Help me.
Help me, help you. Hello, Carla. Okay, so we were talking about, yes, your lack of, you lose interest in everything is really what it is.
Yeah.
You lose motivation, and you probably are blaming yourself. Let me tell you, the number one sign, if you are judging yourself, call me today. I feel like one of those commercials. Please stop judging yourself. I was the queen of doing it. And the chemicals that you release when you're judging yourself are horrid. That's why you feel so bad, right? What are the chemicals you release in your brain? We have words for them, but they're actually a chemical that's being released, and we've given them words such as guilt, shame, remorse, regret. That's all involved with judgment. And let me say it again. We judge what we don't understand. And I don't know if I can explain this. I can probably give you an example, since I feel like I'm the queen of judgment and I've worked very hard with several professionals. Trust me, I know I'm complicated, high maintenance. Go ahead and say it. We judge what we don't understand. So let me try to give you an example that I was really aware of. And that was, so we moved to Texas, and we moved, one of the reasons why I wanted to get out of Oregon was, since I broke my neck and the surgery and the suicide and the depression, I really don't do well with the dark weather. It just really, it's like my brain just starts spitting out melatonin when your headlights are on at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I just didn't do well there. And we wanted to get into the sun. And long story short, which is a really great story, but we already went over that. Dean got a promotion and we relocated to Texas. And that was in August. Well, here comes the holiday season. And at our house, we were the ones that held all the celebrations. So, my mother-in-law, who's so wonderful, came over, my brother, my nephew, and his wonderful girlfriend, and Dean's daughter. And everybody came to our house for the celebration. So here we are in Texas, and they're putting up all the Christmas stuff. And I take it upon myself to start to feel guilty because I made my family move because I needed the sun. So here comes all this judgment, right? Remember I said you judge what you don't understand? So all of a sudden I was just feeling this feeling, and I gave it a judgment that it's my fault. My family's not going to be happy. Nobody's going to be here. And I've done this, blah, 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 blah. So I decided, and I started crying, and I mean, the whole ordeal. And so I came up into my office here, and what we do at Aroma Freedom Clinic is Aroma Freedom techniques. And what we are able to do is identify the situation you're in. This is one of the techniques, which is what I did, is I identified the feeling that I was having and the negative voice that was around that feeling, where I was feeling it in my body. And then with one of the tools we use, I was able to go to a memory where I felt this same way before. And by doing so, believe it or not, I went all the way back to when I was 8 years old, and I realized that I couldn't remember one Christmas growing up. So whatever it triggered, so is it making sense? So Christmas triggered that in me, which I didn't even know that. I honestly, until that day, did not know that I don't remember one Christmas growing up. But whatever happened, it triggered it. And I, not understanding these feelings going on inside of me, remember that unconscious is 90% of you, it's pretty darn big. So I started to judge myself and make it into my current reality, even though that wasn't even real or true at all, because my husband and son have amazing memories of Christmas. I mean, Preston works out to Christmas music. He doesn't have that type of trauma. But had I not done the AFT session, that would have continued to bring me down and follow me throughout the whole holidays. But instead, I did the session on myself, got into the real pain, and with the AFT sessions and the modalities we use, we are actually able to biohack the brain. So what happens is the negative memory, the feeling that's charged, because that was traumatic, goes away. And then it's just part of your history. But it's not dictating your life. And like I said before, your implicit memory is what is creating your perception. Look what it was doing to my perception. It would have ruined the entire holiday. But after doing that session and going through the process, I walked downstairs with a huge smile on my face, and we had a wonderful Christmas. It wasn't even a thought again. But that's what I mean. It's triggered and you don't know. Smell is 10,000 times stronger at triggering memory than muscle memory is. And a lot of the times you smell something and you don't even know it. I mean, what do I say? Your nose is smelling it, but you're not even aware of it, and it's triggering something traumatic. And maybe it was a smell from when something traumatic happened to you. And so when you smell that again, you may have numbed yourself from it and it's locked away in your unconscious, right? You don't want to ever think about that again. But that smell triggers it. You're not having the thoughts because it's in your unconscious. See, this is where it gets complex. You're not having the thought, you're having the feeling. And so what do? We want to control everything. And so we want to give the feeling, what is it? And so we go to our outside world when it's not. It's deeper, it's underneath.
I feel fortunate that most of my memories that are, at least it seems, it appears that most of my memories that are attached to smells, as you say, are good ones. So for me personally, the only bad one I have is where I grew up. There was a dog food plant in our town, and so if I would smell that smell, that would bring back probably some negative memories. But other than that, most of them are pretty good and attached to smells, especially around Christmas. So, oh, believe me, I still have my stuff. You don't open that box.
I'm like, seriously, really, dude. That's it. That's all you got.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. Once again, I just want to say, if you know of anybody that is depressed, experiencing anxiety, not themselves, not acting like themselves, and I'm talking about children too. Our children are being affected more than we know. Like I said, a 56% increase in suicide in grade schoolers. I couldn't even understand how that could happen until I really understood about implicit memory and children not getting their needs met because they're locked in the house. And so they're not getting their emotional needs met. Does that make sense? Anytime you're not getting your emotional needs met, it's traumatic. And we're not talking about that enough, that it's traumatic because we've been in this situation for so long that everybody's just kind of thinks we've adapted and it's not bothering us. It bothers us every single day. Every single day. But like I told you, it's like our unconscious is in a war right now. And so we're not really feeling the effects of what's being buried in there every single day. But when it's over, when this war we're in is over and we're back to some sort of normal, if there ever is such a thing now, that's when the fallout really happens. Because when you're in a war, you don't have time to feel what you're really feeling. But when you come home from the war, that's when it happens. The PTSD, all these things. And that is what Aroma Freedom is here to do, is help you get through those implicit memories, leave them behind, let it be history, but not with any charges. That's what we have to let go of. It's the charges in our 90% of our unconsciousness. Like I said, it's ruling our entire life and we didn't even know it. You know, it's the reason why I'm sure some kid didn't want to work in a factory or do a labor job, but how come he doesn't have the confidence or the charisma or to, do something better? I don't think anybody comes here with the intention of wanting to suffer, but we all are to some degree, but we know why now. Because there's brilliance in everybody. I don't care who it is. But if you can't feel it, because these crazy, crazy memories that have a charge that we can't feel, what is so bizarre, and I had to go through suicide to learn all this, is that the chemicals are still releasing in our brain. And that's why I believe, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that when you get older, it's one of the reasons why you give up. You start to give up on everything. You surrender. And I believe it's because of the weight you're carrying around in your unconscious. Don't you agree? Life gets heavier. I know plenty of examples of people that said that they were, when they retired, they were going to do this or they were going to do that. And then when it came time to retire,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you, in extreme, at one end of the spectrum, you say surrender, but it can be, how do you say, subtle, and you end up compromising or just being okay with settling. So it's like a low grade surrendering of what you really want. You just kind of settle and, to rationalize, justify, whatever. But ultimately you surrendered. But I think people, it's easier for them if they just kind of settle, because they can keep riding that same train, they really didn't surrender, but they're not going anywhere either. So,
which is so bizarre because we are programmed to climb. It's in our programming that we are programmed to climb. We are programmed to have goals. We are programmed to be climbers. That's how our race survives. If not, we would never do anything. Mm-hmm. So we are programmed to constantly be climbing. And you know what? Having goals and it's the most amazing thing. It's what gets you out of bed. So if you're not having any goals in life and you're just kind of going through every day, or you're waiting for the world to change for you to be happy, contact us today. Seriously. Because we are all going through a lot. Like I said, we do live here in Texas, and that was a lot of fun waking up to no power and 2 degrees. Coldest place I've ever lived in my life is here in Texas. Lived in Sedona, it was 12 degrees during the day and at night, but I don't think I've ever lived in a place where it was actually 2. Oh, yes, below 0. Mm-hmm. Yes. It was that was traumatic within itself. So that was a challenging time. We felt it on Monday because it happened on Sunday night. Monday was not a fun day at all. And then noticed by Tuesday, though, that we already started adapting to it. And then we had the rolling blackouts where the power would come on and go off and come on and go off. It'd be on for an hour, go off for 2 hours, be on for an hour, go off for 3 hours. And it was crazy. You should have heard me scream. I think it was on Wednesday because I tried to do something on my computer. And as soon as I opened it, it just power off again. Sanity. insanity. Hopefully everybody gets water. Still praying for all those people out there that don't have any water, but almost everybody's gotten their power restored. So that's wonderful. But it is traumatic. That is for sure. It was a challenging time. Our emotional needs were not met. And we coped, is what we did. We just coped to get through it. And so we know that it's going to take time to recover. And so it's really about acknowledging you and how we feel. It's taken me years, like I said, working with a professional to learn how to feel more than just one emotion, and realize that we have a lot of emotions, but most of us grew up only experiencing one, which was you were happy or something was wrong with you. You always had to be happy. I mean, you got to experience a lot more, Eeyore, because I remember when we were younger. Yeah. You've had a whole range.
Yeah.
A whole range.
Got my money's worth.
Anyway, so seriously, everybody, we need to take care of our mental health. If there are warning signs, like I said, getting tired, not eating, overeating, not working out, not this, not that, just dreading getting up every day, not being able to sleep at night, drinking more because drinking numbs your unconscious. So life is really happy for a little while anyway. And knowing the signs so you can reach for help, and don't be ashamed to reach for help. There are so many people right now that are so depressed that they're locked in their homes, and they, like I told you, when your brain isn't secreting serotonin, you don't even have the energy to brush your teeth. I mean, everything is like sludge. And so there's so many people, check on your neighbors, check on everybody that are depressed, and they're in their homes and they're not getting any help at all, because we've already gotten kind of lazy, in our homes, because most of our freedom has been taken away because of what's been going on. So I guess you could say our stamina has been lowered anyway, because the choices of what we can do are so limited. So then when those chemicals become imbalanced, it's even that much harder for people to reach for help. And then it's very hard to get help once you reach that point. So Aroma Freedom Clinic, if you know somebody that needs help and doesn't have the means, we will provide them with free sessions. So if there's anybody that doesn't have the means and needs help, we're here. And we can bring you relief and release some of that pressure, that tension, because the unconscious is boiling over, literally, because there's just so much hitting us. We already had a lot of trauma in there, most of us that didn't grow up like a prince. And then we already had so much trauma in there. And then you add, like I said, in a war. And then now let's add, freezing temperatures, no power, and it just keeps coming. So there is a way to get better, to feel better, and Aroma Freedom can do that for you. Okay, I've been talking a lot. Are you going to say anything?
Sure. Yeah. Ask me some questions. Give me some answers.
So, what are your thoughts on Aroma Freedom Clinic? What do you think about the owner?
Jury's still out, so gonna have to do some work on that. Release some memories.
Wow.
No. It's all good. It's all positive.
And what do you think about the practitioners at Aroma Freedom Clinic? I mean, we used to own.
Oh, I think they're all wonderful. I think they're all highly qualified. I think they're sincere. They can relate to, I guess you might call their specialty, where they feel most comfortable at, because of their life experiences. So they're not, they're not going to talk at you. They're not going to, tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what will help you, I guess. I mean, as simple as terms, because they can relate. They can relate to the situation. They can relate to your feelings. They can relate to, at many levels, where if they didn't have the personal experience, they might, in just the textbook experience, they might not be able to hit all, on all cylinders, all levels. So I think they're great. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
You'll live to die another day.
Well, thank you.
Aroma Freedom Clinic is one of a kind. It is unique and it is unlike anything else out there on the market. If anybody knows me from before in my life, I was always bringing into fruition things that were ahead of their time to help people. I was lecturing on drinking a gallon of water and eating all natural. It was called natural back then for 25 years. I am very happy to say that now aroma freedom techniques are not ahead of their time. They're actually right on time. And the genius doctor that brought this practice forth is amazing. It is amazing. It works every time. It's not talk therapy. We're not therapists and we're not doctors. What we are doing is helping you release the implicit memory and the power that it has over you and how you are feeling. So if you're feeling stressed, frantic, all those feelings, we can help with that. And I guarantee after one session, you're lighter, you feel better, you're smiling, your entire perception of reality has changed. Because when those lenses come down, when that unconscious gets a hold of you and you're living and breathing an unconscious memory, it's not fun. It is not fun at all. It's not fun for the person that's going through it, and it's not fun for the people that are observing it because they don't know what's going on with you. They don't understand it. I think the best thing that I had is somebody told me one time that my eyes almost become all pupil when I am experiencing an unconscious memory, when I'm triggered, which I actually have me on video with the practitioners I work with. Somebody triggered me and I want to go back and watch the video because thank gosh I was with a group of practitioners and that's what we do, and something triggered me and I just started talking and I just kept going, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I just was triggered and I didn't mean anything I just said. Oh wow. And I still want to go back and watch that and see if my face changed, how much of me changed, because oh, I said all these things I did not mean, and I said them about certain people, like not you though, but I didn't mean them. So if you have any questions, please let us know about what Aroma Freedom Clinic is, about what implicit memory is. And if you know anybody, please check on your little ones. We can treat little ones too. They do really well. And just know that everybody's going through this and that you're not alone and you're not weak. And remember, we judge what we don't understand. And I guarantee if you're judging something, it's a feeling you're having. You're trying to morph your outside to match the feeling, and don't do that. We can literally hallucinate and become delusional when we do that. And we can create what's not really there. We can literally see from that lens, that memory, and those people in the room become those people in that memory. I know that sounds crazy, but it happens all the time and people do horrid things. So pay attention to how you feel. You're the most important. Pay attention to your children, talk to them. The best thing that we can do is learn a whole new language, and that is how to speak about our emotions and not judge somebody. And one of the things that Aroma Freedom Clinic has that is missing in our world is empathy. Every one of the practitioners that I brought on to Aroma Freedom Clinic all have gone through some sort of suffering that Aroma Freedom Technique got them on the other side. And the most wonderful thing about talking with them is that they do have empathy. And that is what was missing when I was suicidal, when I called 911, they put me on hold for 45 minutes. I called the crisis center, the suicide hotline. It was always the same. How are you going to kill yourself? That was the first question. We can send a cop out or the sheriff out to do an evaluation on you. We went to a crisis center, waited 45 minutes there, couldn't help me either. I don't know how many doctors we went to that told me I needed to meditate more, I needed to work out more. Geez, we went through so many. Oh, one prescribed me antidepressants and it made me worse. And she told me, don't worry, we'll get it. It might take a year or so. Aroma Freedom Clinic and their practitioners have been there, trust me, and they understand and they're amazing. So Aroma Freedom Clinic, we are here for you. Like I said, I'll say it one more time before we go off the air here pretty soon. If you know of anybody that doesn't have the means and needs some help, please let us know. We are not doctors, we are not therapists, but what we can do is help with implicit memory, and that means everything. To get rid of that vibration of those traumatic memories that are still going on. We just don't feel it. That's why it's our unconscious. But it's still releasing chemicals in your brain and it's affecting everything about you, your perception of reality, your health, your wealth, your happiness, how much money you can make, the people you can hang around with. It is affecting everything. And like I said, if you think that the 10% of us can override it, what will happen is you will fail. You will self-sabotage and you'll think there's something wrong with you. It's the reason why people can't change their lifestyle. It's the reason why you can't live the life you want to live. It's because the chemicals in your stream, in your brain, are not aligning with your dreams. And we can biohack that now. That's what is so amazing. We're not just stuck now with it. We can actually biohack because of Dr. Ben Purkis and what he discovered and proved. And we prove it every single day when we work with people. So, Aroma Freedom Techniques. You'll hear more and more about it. It's been around for about 4 years and it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I couldn't remember any of my childhood memories until I started doing Aroma Freedom Techniques. I went to school to get my practitioner's license. That's how impressed I was, because I knew that Western medicine had taken me as far as it could. And thank gosh for Western medicine, or I wouldn't be here. But I knew it took me only as far as it could. And it did balance me out taking medications. But I knew that there was something wrong with my brain because I felt normal when I was on the medications. And when I went off of them, I was suicidal. I did that 3 times, I think, before I said, something's just not right here. And that's where Aroma Freedom Techniques came in, because I needed something to heal what was going on in my brain. And that's when Aroma Freedom appeared. And like I said, I couldn't remember anything from my childhood. People have tried, I've gone to therapists my whole life. I've done every type of therapy out there. But once I started doing Aroma Freedom Techniques, they all opened up. And you know what was great about it is, they were worse than what I thought, but I was able to handle it because I had a way to release it. And Aroma Freedom Clinic, or Aroma Freedom Technique, is wonderful with children. Don't you agree?
Mhm.
Our son has been stuck more times, and all of us, we now know that when we're stuck or we're frazzled or um, you're not feeling that momentum of your creation, your goals or whatever, we know that there's something blocking us and that's in the way, and that can be released. And literally it's like peeling the onion. It's amazing what we can now do. It really is. So thank you all for watching. We have so many amazing things happening. We have events going on. Some are educational, just spreading the word out that Aroma Freedom Technique is even there and what it can do for you. And even if you are going to a therapist, it works really well hand in hand, just daily to be able to check in. It's been proven that if people actually did Aroma Freedom Technique and just did a reset, we do resets, they take about maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And when people work with us long enough, we teach them how to do them on themselves. And it's been proven that if you did that every single day, you would not need therapy because you're constantly going underneath that tank and releasing. Because how often do we stop and check in with ourselves? Generally, the only reason why people stop is because they're feeling something bad. When I used to do meditation, I did, and I thought I had it all figured out from the meditation, but it actually, no, it didn't do it. It didn't do it like Aroma Freedom, because Aroma Freedom Technique, like I told you, is biohacking. And I want to tell you how we do it, but it won't make sense. Yeah.
Tune in next time.
Because it's really awesome what we're doing. And because your nose is the only part of you that goes into the brain. So we literally biohack. So it has no choice but to leave. So that energy. So it's awesome because general energies, what do they say? What wires together, fires together. So we kind of store the same type of energy in certain areas in our brain. So, I mean, Dean, of course, probably got a clean one, but I got all these black spots all over. And so when we go in, we don't just take out one, like, in Harry Potter, reminds me of when we did that. We actually are getting a whole constellation. That's what I call it. We could be releasing 30 years in 1 hour, literally. You have to experience it to understand it. I said that for 20 years in my programs before, because they were unlike anything else. And I used to tell people, come in, try it, and you'll know. And it's the same thing here. I am so sure that you will feel better, that I guarantee it, and I will refund your money for the session if you don't. You guys, one more time, if you know anybody that needs help and doesn't have the means, Aroma Freedom Clinic, you can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, go to our website. We have a receptionist that works from 10 to 6 Monday through Friday, so you can always reach us. There's wonderful, wonderful practitioners. You go to the website, you can read their stories. It's been great. Thank you for all of you that have tuned in. And until next Friday, 3 o'clock Central Time, we'll have to see you then. You're welcome. Thank you, you guys. Bye for now.